Senator Lynn Ruane.
Thank you, Last Cahirlock. I suppose I was listening firstly before I get into the areas of the bill that I am concerned with. I was listening very carefully, I suppose, to Senator McDowell because obviously he has a lot of experience in this background, but I wasn't I was listening with an open mind, hoping to be persuaded in the other direction than which I was going in terms of, his expertise. But, when Senator McDowell listed off the outstanding judges that have been appointed, I don't understand how they would be at a disadvantage on a system that's based on merit, because obviously they were appointed on their merit too. When a politician sits down to actually look at who should, whoever's making that decision is doing that based on merit. So if you have another situation that's also based on merit but just also has a much more diverse setting, you're still looking at merit. I mean, merit doesn't change no matter who's looking at it. So to kind of assume maybe that lay people don't have the ability to assess someone based on their merit is probably a little bit of an insulting remark, actually. But anyway, so it is so. It is.
I did.
Just knows he wouldn't be here if lay people were voting for him. That's all.
A hell of a lot more lay people voting for you, dear.
I'm only in my first term.
Please
I'll catch up.
Please.
I'd like to start by welcoming the bill to the Seanad and expressing my broad support for the equality and diversity principles that underpin it. The role that judges play in our democracy is important, their contribution is valuable, and therefore who they are, how we select them, and the criteria and system we use to do so is equally important. This bill will substantially reform the system for how we appoint judges, create a new body that will be responsible for recommending these appointments, and at its core seeks to diversify, decentralise and depoliticise the process by which members of the judiciary come to office, which is welcome. It seeks to take the politics out of judicial selection and has the welcome aim that, quote, the membership of the judiciary should reflect the diversity within the population as a whole. I strongly believe that a more diverse judiciary that is better representative of the society it presides over is a worthy objective, and I welcome this clear articulation of the same. I welcome that appointments to judicial office shall be based on merit under this bill, that gender equality and socio-economic diversity are explicitly mentioned as key objectives, that a majority of the Commission will be made up of lay people led by a lay chair. I welcome the clear criteria for judicial candidates, the transparency of the selection process and the relative independence from political considerations enshrined in the bill. It is clear from the bill that the real major and substantive change from our current system under the Judicial Appointments Advisory Board is the inclusion of a majority of lay people in the process. The main way in which the depoliticisation of the process is intended to occur is the introduction of views from outside the current legal and political circles on judicial selection by bringing lay people into the process in the new Commission. However, this has the practical consequence of meaning that who these lay people are and how they are chosen as being really important, as they are the engine and method by which the aims of the bill are actually achieved. There is a significant responsibility on these lay people, their structural role in the process and the qualities they possess, their experiences and their knowledge competencies, as they are crucial for the success of the bill. In light of the important and crucial role they will play, I am therefore concerned with the current provisions for lay membership of the Commission and the criteria used by the Personal Appointment Service in selecting the lay people in the bill. I do not believe that the current provisions will represent a real sea change over our current process or will actually result in a drastically different cohort of judges being selected and nominated. The layperson selection criteria in Section 12 would, in my view, largely reflect areas of expertise in which there are already high levels of knowledge in our current cohort of judges and the system that selects them. Why, for example, are commerce and finance explicitly mentioned over broader socio-economic issues like addiction, homelessness or penal reform issues? If the lay people are the mechanism by which the views of those outside the current political and legal circles are represented in the new system, the criteria for how they are chosen should capture a broader range of individuals and experiences in society, rather than just top-level, abstract concepts or in certain arbitrarily selected sectors over others. The fact is that if lay people chosen under the provisions of this bill are not drawn from a large pool outside the usual suspects and across a diverse range of criteria, all the passage of this bill will do is simply take away jobs for the bias and give them to another group of jobs for the bias. If we truly want people from outside of current legal practice to apply, be selected and contribute to choosing a more diverse slate of judges, we need to do better, and I hope the further development of criteria in Section 12 and additional detail in respect of laypersons in Section 10 is an issue we could work on as we move towards committee stage. To further focus on the diversity provisions of the bill, I welcome that in Section 56 that the Bill Commission's Procedures Committee will be given responsibility for both monitoring the diversity of judicial candidates in subsection 1 and procedures and processes for developing and strengthening diversity in subsection 4. This is a very welcome provision, but I would like to see more detail. How are we defining diversity for the purpose of this section? My concern is whether a broad and generous understanding of diversity is accounted for under this bill. What metrics do we use when we measure diversity? I'd like to see explicit mention in this section of a role for the Procedures Committee in identifying under-representation of specific groups in the judiciary compared to their prevalence in wider society. The groups and communities that need to be targeted, measures such as quotas and applicant number targets and targeted measures to improve their representation, such as information campaigns and training. Let's agree what we mean by diversity in our judiciary. How best to rectify these underrepresentations and actually give the aim of ensuring diversity some real teeth in the bill. I hope this is an issue that we can work on at committee stage. Another issue I'd like to raise and see dealt with in the bill is the issue of Irish Sign Language. I welcome the new strong protections introduced in the Dáil for the Irish language in the bill. I would, however, like to ask the Minister if he has considered making similar protections in relation to Irish Sign Language in light of the recent passage of the Irish Sign Language Act and the fact that ISL can now be used in legal proceedings by deaf citizens throughout the state. It would be a strong sign of the state's efforts to vindicate the equality of our deaf citizens, and proficiency in ISL would be recognised in the bill as a valuable quality for a judge to possess. This could even lead to the conducting of a court proceeding without ISL interpreter at all in the future. And obviously I understand that this would be down the road, but it's a positive look forward, which would mean an incredible legacy for this legislation, and I'd appreciate your thoughts on that, Minister. I'm also concerned that the Minister can ignore the recommendations of the Commission and appoint another candidate entirely to the judiciary. While I recognise this is due to constitutional prerogative given to government in respect of appointing judges, it is still a concern that so much effort and work could be put into building a system that could be so easily circumvented. Could the Minister assuage these concerns and outline any circumstances he envisages for ignoring the Commission, and what sort of reasons would be provided to the Oireachtas under Section 49 in such a case? I will be supporting the bill at second stage, but I will be tabling amendments at committee stage along with others, and I appreciate the Minister's thoughts on my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Senator. Senator